The morning sun cast long shadows across the green fields of New Haven Colony. Ji-hoon wiped sweat from his forehead as he checked the hydroponic systems in Greenhouse 7. The tomatoes were growing well this season. His daughter Minji would be happy to see them when she returned from her research station. Far above the peaceful colony, Admiral Crix studied the human settlement through his ship's sensors. The Volari commander shook his scaled head in disgust. These humans were weak. They spent their time growing food and studying plants instead of building weapons. Their biggest structures were schools and hospitals, not military bases. Sir, we have completed our scan of all 12 human colonies, reported his aide. No significant military presence detected. A few security ships, nothing more. Crix's yellow eyes gleamed. The Volari Empire had conquered 47 worlds in the past century. These humans would be the easiest victory yet. They didn't even have proper warships, just cargo vessels and small patrol craft. On New Haven's main street, Governor Yunbi walked to her daily meeting with the Colony Council. The humans had built their town to look like an old Earth village, with tree-lined paths and small shops. Children played in parks while their parents worked in laboratories and farms. It was exactly the kind of soft, weak society that invited attack. Captain Wu Jin stood guard at the governor's office, but even he looked more like a police officer than a soldier. His weapon was a simple energy pistol, not the heavy plasma cannons that real warriors carried. The Volari had watched the humans for months and seen no signs of military training or combat preparation. Governor, we have received another message from the Volari Empire, Wu Jin said as Yunbi entered the building. They are demanding tribute again. Yunbi sighed. The Volari wanted food, rare metals, and technology in exchange for leaving the human colonies alone. It was the same demand they made to dozens of weaker species across the galaxy. What do the other colonies say? She asked. The same as always. They want to try talking first. Maybe we can find a peaceful solution. Admiral Crix would have laughed if he had heard this conversation. Peace was for the weak. The strong took what they wanted and destroyed anyone who resisted. That was the way of the galaxy. In her laboratory, Minji studied samples of alien plant life that traders had brought from distant worlds. She was 25 years old and had never seen a real battle. The worst violence in her life was watching nature documentaries about predatory animals. She had no idea that predators much worse than any animal were watching her right now. The human colonies were spread across 12 different star systems, but they were all the same. Peaceful farming communities, research stations, and trading posts. The humans seemed to think the galaxy was a safe place where reasonable people could talk through their problems. Crix had seen species like this before. They always believed that others would be as peaceful as they were. They were always wrong. The galaxy belonged to the strong, and the Volari were very strong indeed. Send the final demand to all human colonies, Crix ordered. Tell them they have 72 hours to begin tribute payments, or we will show them what happens to those who refuse the Volari Empire. The message reached New Haven within minutes. Governor Yunbi called an emergency council meeting. The other colony leaders, joined by hologram, their faces worried and uncertain. Maybe we should pay, suggested the governor of Kepler's Rest. It's not that much, just some food and metal. If we pay once, they'll keep demanding more, replied the leader of Terra Nova. These kinds of bullies never stop. Ji-hoon attended the meeting as a representative of the farming community. He listened to the debate with growing concern. His daughter was out at the research station with a team studying rare minerals. If fighting started, she would be in danger. "What about asking the Galactic Council for help?" someone suggested. Wu Jin shook his head. "The Council doesn't get involved in disputes between empires and colonies. We're on our own." That was exactly what Crix was counting on. The humans had no allies strong enough to help them. The other peaceful species in the galaxy were just as weak as humans were. The warrior races like the Valari were the ones with real power. As the 72-hour deadline approached, the human colonies tried everything they could think of. They sent diplomatic messages offering to negotiate. They asked their trading partners to speak for them. They even offered to pay a smaller tribute as a compromise. The Valari ignored all of these attempts. Crix had made his decision. These humans needed to learn their place in the galaxy. A few destroyed colonies would make the lesson clear to any other species that thought about resisting Valari demands. On the final day, Ji-hoon worked in his greenhouses as usual. Minji called him from the research station to report that her team had found some interesting mineral deposits in the mountains. Everything seemed normal and peaceful. Governor Yunbi spent the day in meetings, still hoping to find a diplomatic solution. Captain Wu Jin drilled his small security force, but they had only basic weapons and no real military training. They were police officers, not soldiers. None of them knew that high above their world, Admiral Crix was preparing to give an order that would change everything. The Valari fleet had moved into position around 3 human colonies. Massive kinetic. Weapons were aimed at the surface. The bombardment systems were charged and ready. "Sir, all ships report ready," the weapons officer announced. Crix looked down at the peaceful world below. He could see the lights of human cities, the green patches of their farms, the small ships moving between the colonies and orbital stations. In a few minutes, all of that would be burning wreckage. "These humans think they can ignore the Valari Empire," he said to his crew. "Today they learn what happens to those who refuse to show proper respect. Begin the bombardment. The weapons." Officer's hand moved toward the firing controls. In the colonies below, humans went about their daily lives, completely unaware that death was falling from the sky toward them. Ji-hoon was watering his tomato plants when the first alarms began to sound. The warning came too late. By the time he looked up at the sky, bright streaks of light were already racing down toward the surface. The kinetic weapons would hit in less than 30 seconds. There was no time to run, no time to hide, no time to say goodbye to Minji or tell her how much he loved her. Ji-hoon just stood in his greenhouse, watching the end of his world approach, and hoped that somehow, somewhere, someone would make the Valari pay for what they were about to do. The attack was about to begin. The kinetic weapons hit New Haven like the fist of an angry god. Each projectile was a simple piece of metal, but it fell from space at incredible speed. When metal moving that fast hits the ground, it releases as much energy as a nuclear bomb. Ji-hoon's greenhouse disappeared in a flash of white light. The entire farming district vanished in seconds. Buildings that had taken years to construct became dust and fire in the time it takes to blink. 20 kilometers away, Minji felt the ground shake under her feet. She was collecting rock samples with her research team when the mountains themselves seemed to jump. A sound like thunder rolled across the landscape, but it went on and on without stopping. "What was that?" asked Dr. Taman, the team leader. Minji looked toward the colony's main settlement. Where she should have seen the lights of the city, there was only a growing column of smoke and fire. Her heart stopped. Her father was down there. Her home was down there. "We need to get back," she said, dropping her equipment and running toward their vehicle. But there was nowhere to go back to. The main colony was gone. The spaceport was a crater. The residential areas where 20,000 people had lived were now burning ruins. In 30 seconds, the Valari had erased most of human civilization on New Haven. Admiral Crix watched the destruction on his screens with satisfaction. The first colony was destroyed. Now for the second target. "Move to Kepler's Rest," he ordered. "Show them the same lesson." Kepler's Rest was a mining colony with 50,000 residents. They had families, dreams, and plans for the future. They also had 15 minutes to live. The Valari fleet moved through space like hunters stalking prey. On Terra Nova, the third target, Governor Hassoun received the emergency signals from New Haven just as the attack on Kepler's Rest began. The messages were confused and desperate. Words like bombardment and everyone's dead and run while you can. "Get everyone to the emergency shelters," Hassoun ordered, but he knew it wouldn't help. The shelters were built to protect against accidents and storms, not military weapons that could crack mountains. Captain Wu Jin was at New Haven when the attack came. He was visiting the colony to discuss security matters with the local police. The blast wave threw him into a ditch beside. The road and falling debris knocked him unconscious. When he woke up, the world had ended. He crawled out of the ditch with blood running down his face. Where the main settlement had been, there was only fire and twisted metal. The air smelled like burning plastic and worse things he didn't want to think about. He activated his emergency beacon and started looking for survivors. Minji found him 3 hours later. She had driven back from the research station to find her home destroyed and her father dead. Captain Wu Jin was pulling injured, people from the wreckage of a collapsed building. His uniform was torn and dirty, and he moved like a man who had aged 10 years in one day. "Captain, we need to evacuate the survivors," she said. "The Valari might come back." Wu Jin looked at her with empty eyes. "Evacuate to where?" "Look around. This is what's left." But Minji was right about the danger. Even as they worked to save the wounded, Admiral Crix was preparing to finish the job. 3 colonies were destroyed, but some humans had survived. The lesson needed to be complete. "Sir, we're detecting evacuation ships leaving the colony sites," reported the weapons officer. "Destroy them," Crix said without emotion. "Leave no witnesses." The Valari fighters swept down on the refugee ships like sharks attacking wounded swimmers. Most of the evacuation craft were just cargo vessels with no weapons or armor. They died as easily as the colonies had. But some ships escaped. Minji and Captain Wu Jin managed to get 37 survivors aboard an old mining transport. The SEAL, ship's captain, a gruff woman named Jisoo, pushed the engines beyond their safety limits to outrun the Valari fighters. "Where do we go?" Jisoo asked as they reached the edge of the star system. "Anywhere but here," Wu Jin replied. They jumped to hyperspace just as more Valari ships arrived to hunt for survivors. Behind them, New Haven burned. Kepler's Rest was a field of glass and metal. Terra Nova was a tomb. 2.3 million humans were dead. The news spread across the galaxy within hours. The Valari Empire had destroyed 3 human colonies without warning. It was a massacre, but not an unusual one. Strong species had been destroying weak ones since the beginning of galactic civilization. What was unusual was what happened next. Every human colony, station, and ship in the galaxy went silent. Not destroyed, not captured, not surrendering. Just silent. They stopped all communications with the outside galaxy. They stopped trading. They stopped sending diplomatic messages. They stopped responding to any contact attempts. It was as if the entire human species had simply vanished. On the Valari homeworld, Admiral Crix stood before Supreme Commander Vyak to report his victory. Vyak was an ancient warrior who had conquered more worlds than any living Valari. His scales were scarred from 100 battles, and his eyes held the cold intelligence of a perfect predator. "The human colonies are destroyed," Crix reported. "The surviving settlements should surrender within days. And yet our intelligence reports that they have not surrendered," Vyak said slowly. "In fact, they have not communicated with anyone at all." "Explain this." Crix shifted uncomfortably. "Perhaps they are in shock, Supreme Commander. Grief makes lesser species behave strangely." Vyak studied a holographic display showing human space. Dozens of colonies and outposts were marked in red, indicating no communication. It was unprecedented. Even the most stubborn species usually sent desperate pleas for mercy after a demonstration like this. "Send scouts to the nearest human colonies," Vyak ordered. "I want to know what they are doing." The scouts found empty space. The human colonies were still there, but they weren't responding to any signals. Their ships moved in normal patterns, but they ignored all contact attempts. It was like trying to talk to ghosts. Meanwhile, aboard the refugee ship, Minji received a message that changed everything. It came through an encrypted channel she didn't even know existed. The message was short and simple: coordinates to a location deep in space and instructions to come alone. "Who sent this?" Captain Wu Jin asked when she showed him the message. "I don't know, but it came through official human emergency channels I've never heard of before." Wu Jin frowned. As a security officer, he knew about all the official communication systems. These channels were new to him. That was impossible unless someone had been keeping secrets. "We'll go together," he decided. "Whatever this is, we face it as a team." The coordinates led them to an empty region of space between star systems. There was nothing there on any sensor scan, just empty vacuum and distant stars. But as they approached the location, something appeared. A massive structure materialized out of nowhere, like a ghost becoming solid. It was clearly human in design, but unlike any human ship they had ever seen. It was the size of a small moon and covered with weapon systems that made Minji's blood run cold. "Unknown vessel. This is Admiral Hyunwoo of the Human Defense Force," came a voice over the communication system. "Prepare to be taken aboard. It's time you learned the truth about humanity." As their small ship was pulled into the massive vessel's docking bay, Minji realized that everything she thought she knew about her own species was wrong. The peaceful colonies, the lack of military power, the helplessness against the Valari. Attack. It had all been a lie. The question was, what was the truth? The Galactic Trade Exchange on the neutral world of Nexus Prime had never seen anything like it. Within 24 hours of the attack on the human colonies, every human trade ship in the galaxy had simply stopped responding to cargo requests. Contracts worth billions of credits were abandoned without explanation. Merchant Captain Yelvek of the Karathi Trading Guild stared at his empty cargo holds in disbelief. For 15 years, human freighter crews had been his most reliable partners. They delivered medical supplies to his people's isolated worlds, transported rare materials across dangerous space routes, and always honored their contracts no matter what. Now they were gone, all of them. "Have you tried the emergency frequencies?" asked his first officer. "Everything," Yelvek replied. "Standard trade channels, diplomatic frequencies, even distress signals. It's like every human in the galaxy just stopped existing. The situation was the same everywhere. On the banking world of Centaurus, the Nexari financial system was crashing because human accountants and translators had vanished from their posts. The humans had been the galaxy's best mediators and negotiators, helping different species understand each other's complex financial systems. Without them, trade agreements were falling apart. Currency exchanges were failing. 3 separate economic partnerships collapsed in a single day because no one else could navigate the delicate negotiations that humans made look easy. Admiral Crix stood in the command center of his flagship, studying reports from across Velari, space. The silence from human territory was starting to worry him. After destroying 3 colonies, he had expected desperate surrender offers or at least angry threats of revenge. Instead, there was nothing. "Sir, our deep space monitors are detecting unusual activity in human territory," reported his intelligence officer. "Ships are moving, but they're not responding to any communication attempts." "What kind of ships?" "Unknown, sir. The sensor signatures don't match any human vessels in our database." Crix frowned. The Velari had detailed records of every human ship design. They were all civilian craft, cargo haulers, passenger transports, and small research vessels. Nothing that could threaten a Velari battlecruiser. "Keep monitoring. If they're preparing some kind of desperate attack, we'll be ready." But Captain Wu Jin, sitting in the docking bay of the mysterious human vessel, was beginning to understand that the Velari had no idea what they were really facing. Admiral Hyun Woo had greeted the survivors personally, and everything about him was wrong. He wore a military uniform that looked nothing like the simple security outfits that Wu Jin knew. His ship was armed with weapons that seemed decades ahead of anything in the human colonies. Most disturbing of all, he spoke like a man who had been expecting this attack for years. "I'm sorry about your father," Hyunwoo said to Minji as they walked through corridors filled with advanced technology. "Ji-hoon was a good man and a valuable agent." "Agent?" Minji stopped walking. "My father was a farmer." "Your father was one of our best intelligence operatives. Every human in the outer colonies was part of the network. We've been watching and learning for decades." The words hit Minji like a physical blow. Her entire life had been a lie. The peaceful farming community where she grew up, the research stations where she studied, even her own work. It had all been part of some vast deception. "But why?" she asked. "Why hide? Why pretend to be weak?" "Because the galaxy is full of predators like the Velari," Hyunwoo explained. "Every peaceful species gets conquered or destroyed eventually. We chose a different path." He led them to a tueo observation deck where they could see out into space. What Minji saw there made her legs weak. Hundreds of ships hung in the darkness, each one larger and more heavily armed than anything she had imagined. They had been invisible to sensors, hidden like ghosts in empty space. "How long have you been preparing for this?" Captain Wu Jin asked. 300 years, Hyunwoo replied. "Ever since we made first contact with the galactic community and realized what kind of place this really is. On the Karathi homeworld, the medical crisis was getting worse. Human doctors and medical technicians had been working in Karathi hospitals for decades, helping to treat diseases that only humans seemed to understand. Now those hospitals were overwhelmed because their human staff had vanished. "We need to send a message to the human government," insisted Dr. Kelthara, the chief medical officer of the planet's largest hospital. "Our people are dying without their help." "What human government?" replied the Karathi ambassador. "No one has been able to contact any human authority for 3 days. It's like their entire civilization just evaporated." The same scene was playing out across the galaxy. The Altani Mining Consortium couldn't operate their deep space equipment without human technicians. The Valorian Diplomatic Corps was paralyzed because they depended on human translators to communicate with dozens of species. Humans had been everywhere, helping everyone, making themselves indispensable to galactic civilization. Now they were nowhere, and the galaxy was discovering just how much it had depended on them. Supreme Commander Viak paced in his war room, studying holographic displays of human space. His scouts had returned with disturbing reports. The human colonies were still there, but they were behaving strangely. "They're moving ships constantly," reported the chief scout. "Big ships that we've never seen before. They appear on sensors for a few minutes, then vanish again." "Cloaking technology?" Viak asked. "Unknown, sir. Our sensors can't get clear readings on them." Viak's tactical advisor, a scarred veteran named Korex, pointed to the display. "Supreme Commander, I recommend we attack the remaining human colonies immediately. Destroy them all before they can organize any kind of resistance." "No," Viak said, slowly. "Something is wrong here. Species don't just go silent like this. They beg, they threaten, they try to negotiate. They don't just disappear." "You think it's a trap?" "I think we may have made a mistake." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. The Valari Empire had conquered 47 worlds by never making mistakes. They studied their enemies carefully, struck decisively, and never showed mercy. It was a formula that had never failed. But this felt different. On the human vessel, Minji was learning just how different things really were. Director Sunho of Human Intelligence showed her files that made her question everything she thought she knew about the galaxy. "The Thrakari Empire fell 80 years ago," he explained, showing her historical records. "They were a peaceful species, much like what we pretended to be. They tried diplomacy right up until the moment the Zelkani burned their homeworld. The Hegemony Wars, the Sector 7 massacres, the Purge of the Gentle Worlds. Every few decades, the strong destroy the weak. It's the way this galaxy works." Minji stared at images of dead civilizations, burnt worlds, and species that existed now only in historical files. "But we could have helped them. We could have saved them." "Could we?" Sunho asked. "Or would we have just died alongside them? We chose to survive, Minji. We chose to become strong enough to never be victims. By pretending to be weak? By becoming invisible. The galaxy's most dangerous predators ignore prey that seems harmless. While they fought each other for scraps, we grew strong in the shadows. Captain Wu Jin was getting a different education. General Seokjin was showing him the human military that the galaxy had never seen. Not the small security forces that patrolled the colonies, but vast automated fleets hidden throughout human space. Every asteroid mining station was actually a weapon depot, Seokjin explained. Every deep space research outpost was a sensor network monitoring alien military movements. Every peaceful farming colony was an intelligence gathering center. "My father died protecting what he thought was a defenseless settlement," Wu Jin said bitterly. "Your father died protecting one of the most important intelligence assets in human space. New Haven Colony had been monitoring Valari fleet movements for 5 years. His sacrifice saved thousands of lives by giving us advance warning of their attack patterns." It should have been comforting, but it wasn't. Everything Wu Jin had believed about humanity was crumbling around him. They weren't the peaceful explorers he had thought. They were something else entirely. Something that had been watching and waiting for 3 centuries, preparing for exactly this moment. The galaxy was about to discover what humans really were. beneath their mask of peaceful weakness. And Admiral Crix, Supreme Commander Viak, and the entire Valari Empire were going to be the first to learn the truth. The silence was ending. The real war was about to begin. The massive doors of the underground complex on Terra Prime had not opened in 50 years. The facility was buried 3 kilometers beneath Earth's surface, hidden beneath layers of rock, metal, and deception. Even the planet itself was invisible to the galaxy, protected by technology that made it appear to be nothing more than a lifeless rock orbiting an unremarkable star. Admiral Hyunwoo walked through corridors that stretched for kilometers, passing chambers filled with the most advanced technology in the galaxy. His footsteps echoed in the silence as automated systems came online for the first time in decades. The awakening had begun. In the central command chamber, Director Sunho stood before a holographic display showing the entire galaxy. Red dots marked the locations of every major alien military force. Blue dots showed human assets that the galaxy had never suspected existed. There were thousands of blue dots. The Valari have made contact with the Nexari Banking Consortium, reported Intelligence Officer Yuna from her station. They're trying to find out why human financial networks have gone offline. Let them wonder, Sunho replied. The longer they remain confused, the more time we have to complete our preparations. The truth was more incredible than anything the galaxy could have imagined. Humanity had never left Earth's solar system. Every human the galaxy had ever met was part of an elaborate intelligence operation that had lasted for 3 centuries. Earth itself was humanity's greatest secret. The planet that aliens believed was humanity's origin world was actually a carefully maintained museum. The real Earth, the living world with 11 billion humans, was hidden behind technology so advanced that it existed in a different phase of reality. Dr. Yuna pulled up files on every alien species in the galaxy. Each file contained detailed biological, psychological, and technological profiles gathered over decades of careful observation. She knew the genetic weaknesses of the Karathi, the social structures of the Nexari, and the military capabilities of every species in known space. The Valari think they destroyed 3 colonies with minimal defenses, she said to the assembled War Council. They have no idea that those colonies were observation posts with complete real-time intelligence on their entire military structure. General Seokjin activated another display showing the Valari Empire's fleet positions. Every ship was tracked and identified. Their Admiral Crix believes he's facing a broken enemy. He doesn't know that we've been inside his communication networks for 5 years. The War Council members were humanity's true leaders, not the governors and officials the galaxy had known. These were the people who had guided human policy for centuries, carefully building toward this moment when the mask would finally come off. Captain Wu Jin and Minji sat in the observer section, still struggling to understand the magnitude of what they were seeing. The peaceful colonies where they had lived were just the visible surface of something vast and hidden. "My research work," Minji said quietly to Wu Jin. "I was studying alien plant samples to help develop better crops, but that wasn't really what I was doing, was it?" "No," Admiral Hyunwoo answered from the platform. "You were analyzing alien biological systems to identify potential weaknesses. Your research into Karathi plant diseases led to our development of targeted biological weapons. Your father was very proud of your work." The words should have horrified her, but Minji found herself feeling something else instead. Relief. Her father's death hadn't been meaningless. The colonies that had died weren't just innocent victims. They had been soldiers in a war that the galaxy didn't even know was being fought. Director Sunho activated the main display, showing a three-dimensional map of human space as it really existed. What the galaxy saw as 12 scattered colonies was actually a network of hundreds of installations, connected by quantum communication links and protected by automated defense systems that made Valari weapons look like stone knives. Every human, civilian in the outer territories, was a trained intelligence operative, he explained. Every farmer, teacher, doctor, and merchant was gathering information and reporting back to Terra Prime. We have complete psychological profiles on every alien leader in the galaxy. The peaceful traders who seemed so harmless were actually our most effective spies. They had access to every major alien facility, every important meeting, every classified document. Alien security systems ignored them because they seemed too weak to be a threat. General Seok-jin took over the briefing, showing images of the human military that had been hidden from the galaxy. While aliens built larger and larger battleships, we built smaller and smarter weapons. Nanotechnology, quantum manipulation, artificial intelligence that can rewrite itself in real time. Our ships don't need to be big because they don't need armor. They can phase in and out of normal space, making them effectively untouchable. One human destroyer can eliminate an entire alien fleet without taking damage. Captain Wu Jin stared at the display showing human weapons technology. If we've had these capabilities for decades, why didn't we use them to protect the colonies? Why did we let the Valari kill millions of people? The question hung in the air like an accusation. Admiral Hyunwoo looked directly at Wu Jin before answering, because those people knew they were soldiers, not civilians. Every human in the outer colonies volunteered for this mission, knowing they might have to die to maintain our cover. Your father signed up 25 years ago, fully aware of the risks. The attack on the colonies was exactly what we needed to justify what comes next. The galaxy has to see us as victims first, so they'll understand that we're not the aggressors in what's about to happen. Dr. Yuna brought up another display, this one showing the galactic communication networks. Every message sent between alien worlds passes through systems that we control. Every trade negotiation, every military order, every diplomatic communication. We've been listening to everything for centuries. The Valari Supreme Commander thinks he's dealing with a broken enemy. He doesn't know that we recorded his decision to attack the colonies 3 weeks before it happened. We could have stopped it, but we chose not to. The revelation hit Minji like a physical blow. You let them die. You could have saved everyone, and you chose to let them die. We chose to let them die as heroes, instead of living as slaves, Director Sunho replied without emotion. Every peaceful species in this galaxy eventually gets conquered or exterminated. The strong prey on the weak, and they never stop. We decided to become strong enough that no one would ever prey on us again. But the cost... The cost was 2.3 million lives to save 11 billion. It was a trade we were willing to make, and so were they. Every person who died in those colonies knew this day might come. Admiral Hyunwoo walked to the center of the room, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of planning. For 300 years, we've watched species rise and fall. We've seen peaceful civilizations destroyed by aggressive ones. We've seen the weak beg for mercy and receive only death. We chose a different path. We became invisible. We became indispensable. We became the galaxy's hidden guardians, preventing wars and genocides that would have killed billions. But we also became strong enough to survive when hiding was no longer enough. The main display changed to show current Valari fleet positions. Admiral Crix's forces were spread across 3 star systems, confident in their victory and unprepared for real resistance. The Valari Empire has conquered 47 worlds, General Seokjin announced. They've exterminated 12 entire species. They've enslaved billions of people and turned whole worlds into factory prisons. Today, that ends. We're not going to defeat the Valari Empire. We're going to completely destroy it as a warning to every other predatory species in the galaxy. We're going to make it clear that the age of the strong preying on the weak is over. Captain Woojin felt a chill run down his spine. The humans he had known were gone, replaced by something far more dangerous. What are we going to become? What? We always were, Admiral Hyunwoo replied. The apex predators in a galaxy full of wannabe predators. The difference is that we prey on predators, not on the innocent. The Valari wanted to teach the galaxy a lesson about power. We're going to teach them a much better one. The awakening was complete. Humanity's true face was about to be revealed to the galaxy, and Admiral Crix was going to be the first to see it. The peaceful mask was coming off, and what lay beneath would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The hunt was about to begin. The briefing room on Terra Prime contained the most dangerous information in the galaxy. As Admiral Hyunwoo began the full revelation, Minji realized that everything she thought she knew about human history was a carefully constructed lie. The colonies were never meant to be our real settlements, Hyunwoo explained, activating a holographic timeline that stretched back 3 centuries. They were observation posts, designed to make us look like a typical expanding species while we studied the galaxy's true nature. The timeline showed the real history of human expansion. First contact with the Galactic Council in 2387. The discovery that the galaxy operated on predator-prey relationships. The decision to hide Earth and create a false human civilization that would attract no attention. Dr. Yuna stepped forward, her files containing the biological secrets of every known species. We spent 50 years just learning how to look harmless, studying which behaviors made aliens dismiss us as unimportant, which technologies to show and which to hide. The peaceful farmer image wasn't an accident. We tested dozens of different approaches and found that agricultural communities triggered protective instincts in most species. They saw us as useful providers, not threats. Captain Woojin stared at the displays showing human technological development. While the galaxy had seen humans using basic tools and simple spacecraft, the real human civilization had been developing technology that operated on entirely different principles. Nanotechnology was our first breakthrough, General Seokjin explained. We can manipulate matter at the molecular level, rebuilding anything into anything else. The metal hull of a Valari battleship can become a cloud of harmless gas in seconds. Quantum entanglement networks give us instant communication across any distance. While aliens still use slower-than-light signals that we can intercept and decode, our own communications are impossible to detect or interrupt. But the most important breakthrough was something the galaxy had never even conceived of: true artificial intelligence that could rewrite itself in real time. Human AI systems weren't just smart computers. They were digital life forms that could evolve and adapt faster than biological intelligence. Director Sunho activated another display showing the AI networks that had been watching the galaxy for centuries. Our artificial intelligence systems have been infiltrating alien computer networks since first contact. Every major alien government, military, and corporation has human AI systems embedded in their most secure systems. The Valari think their communications are encrypted and secure. We've been reading their messages for decades. We know about their military plans before their own officers do. Minji felt sick as the implications became clear. You're saying we've been manipulating galactic politics for 3 centuries? preventing wars, stopping genocides, guiding technological development to prevent species from destroying themselves, Hyunwoo corrected. We've been the galaxy's invisible guardians, keeping the peace by making sure the most dangerous species never became powerful enough to threaten everyone else. The evidence was overwhelming. Charts showed dozens of conflicts that had been quietly ended by strategic information leaks, aggressive species that had mysteriously suffered equipment failures at crucial moments, alliance formations that had been gently guided to create better balance of power. The hegemony wars could have destroyed half the galaxy, Dr. Yuna explained. They ended when both sides' computer systems developed random malfunctions that made large-scale warfare impossible. Those weren't random malfunctions. The Thrakari genocide was stopped when the Zelkani military discovered that their biological weapons had been neutralized by an unknown pathogen. That pathogen was human nanotechnology. General Seokjin brought up tactical displays showing human military capabilities that made the Valari Empire look like children playing with toys. While aliens built bigger ships with more armor and weapons, we built smaller ships that operate outside normal physics. Our vessels can phase between dimensions, making them invisible and untouchable. Our weapons can target specific molecular structures, allowing us to destroy enemy ships while leaving their crews unharmed if we choose to. Most importantly, we have complete control over the technology that runs galactic civilization. Every computer system, every communication network, every automated system has human components that we can activate or deactivate at will. The revelation was staggering. Humanity hadn't just been hiding from the galaxy. They had been running it from behind the scenes, maintaining peace through invisible control over the very technology that made galactic civilization possible. Captain Wu Jin struggled to process the magnitude of the deception. If we've had this power all along, why reveal it now? Why not just stop the Valari quietly like we did with the others? Because the Valari are different, Admiral Hyunwoo replied grimly. They're not just aggressive. They're actively trying to become genocidal. Our intelligence indicates they're planning to exterminate every non-Valari species in the galaxy. Director Sunho activated classified files showing Valari long-term plans. The documents were chilling. Systematic extermination programs, biological weapons designed to target specific alien species, and plans to turn conquered worlds into factory farms where surviving aliens would be bred as livestock. They call it the Great Cleansing, Sunho explained. Within 50 years, they plan to reduce the galactic population to less than 1 billion individuals, all of them Valari or their slave species. We could stop them quietly, but it would require actions that would eventually be discovered. The galaxy would realize that someone had been manipulating events for centuries. Better to reveal ourselves openly and make it clear that we're the ones maintaining galactic security. Dr. Yuna brought up biological profiles of the Valari species. They're perfect predators, but they have weaknesses. Their psychological makeup makes them incapable of accepting submission from species they see as inferior. They will keep fighting until they're completely destroyed. Which means we can't just defeat them. We have to eliminate them entirely. And we have to do it in a way that makes it clear to every other aggressive species what will happen to them if they follow the Valari example. Minji stared at the profiles of Valari civilians, children, families, individuals who had never hurt anyone. You're talking about genocide, exterminating an entire species. We're talking about surgery, General Seokjin corrected. Removing a cancer before it kills the patient. The Valari military and government will be eliminated. Valari civilians will be relocated to worlds where they can't threaten anyone else. The alternative is allowing them to exterminate 12 billion intelligent beings across 47 worlds. The mathematics are simple. Admiral Hyunwoo walked to the center of the room, his voice carrying the weight of centuries of difficult decisions. For 300 years, we've made the hard choices that other species couldn't make. We've prevented wars by assassinating leaders who wanted to start them. We've stopped genocides by destroying weapons before they could be used. We've kept the galaxy peaceful by being willing to use violence when necessary. The strong prey on the weak because the weak aren't willing to become strong enough to stop them. Today, we stop pretending to be weak. Today, we show the galaxy what real strength looks like, and we make it clear that the age of predatory empires is over. The main display changed to show real-time positions of human military forces. What had appeared to be empty space around every major alien world was actually filled with human ships, hidden by technology that made them invisible to conventional sensors. "We have forces in position around every Valari world," General Seokjin announced. "We can begin the operation whenever you give the order, Admiral." "We also have contingency forces positioned around the homeworlds of 16 other aggressive species. If any of them attempt to take advantage of the chaos, they'll discover that they're next on our list." Captain Wu Jin felt the weight of what was about to happen. "The galaxy will never trust us again. Once they know what we really are, they'll see us as the greatest threat in known space." "Good," Admiral Hyunwoo replied. "Fear is more reliable than trust. Peaceful species will be grateful for our protection. Aggressive species will be too, afraid to act on their impulses. We're not going to rule the galaxy. We're going to guard it. And the first lesson we're going to teach is what happens to species that attack human colonies. The preparations were complete. Humanity's true face was about to be revealed to the galaxy, and the Valari Empire was going to be the example that every other species would remember for the next 1,000 years. Admiral Crix was reviewing intelligence reports when the first Valari outpost simply vanished. Not destroyed, not captured, vanished. One moment, the Deep Space Monitoring Station was sending regular reports. The next moment, it was gone. No distress signal, no explosion, no debris field. Just empty space where a military installation had been minutes before. "Sir, we've lost contact with Forward Base 7, reported his communications officer. Crick studied the sensor readings with growing unease. "Equipment malfunction?" "Unknown, sir. All systems show normal operation until transmission simply stops." "What Admiral Crix didn't know was that Captain Wu Jin was leading the first phase of humanity's response from the bridge of a ship that existed in several dimensions simultaneously. The human vessel could phase in and out of normal space, appearing only when it chose to attack. "Target acquired," reported Weapons Officer Jin Ho from his station. "Valari Patrol Squadron, 3 light cruisers." "Begin the lesson," Wu Jin ordered. The human ship materialized directly behind the Valari formation, its weapons already charging. But these weren't the energy cannons or kinetic projectiles that filled alien weapon systems. Human weapons operated on principles that most species hadn't even discovered yet. The first Valari cruiser simply stopped existing. Its molecular structure was rewritten at the quantum level, transforming organized matter into harmless gas. The crew had exactly enough time to realize something was happening before they became part of an expanding cloud of atoms. The second ship tried to turn and fight, but its weapons passed harmlessly through the human vessel, which had phased partially out of normal space. Return fire struck the Valari ship with pinpoint precision, targeting specific systems while leaving the crew compartments intact. The third cruiser attempted to flee, but its engines shut down as human nanotechnology infiltrated its computer systems. The ship drifted helplessly as its crew watched their instruments fail one by one. "Broadcast surrender terms to the surviving vessel," Wu Jin ordered. "Full tactical data on Valari fleet positions in exchange for the crew's lives." Meanwhile, 2,000 light-years away, Minji was beginning her own mission. The nanotechnology in her bloodstream had completely rewritten her cellular structure, allowing her to perfectly mimic Valari physiology. To any sensor or medical scanner, she was indistinguishable from a native Valari. She materialized in the corridor of Admiral Crix's flagship, having been transmitted directly through the ship's own communication systems. The quantum technology that allowed instant travel anywhere in the galaxy was something the Valari couldn't even imagine, let alone defend against. "Security alert in Section C," she reported to the ship's internal communication system, using her perfect mimicry of Valari vocal patterns. "Possible intruder detected." As Valari security forces rushed to investigate the false alarm, Minji accessed the ship's central computer core. The quantum virus she introduced would spread through every Valari computer system in the galaxy, copying their data while slowly corrupting their operational capabilities. But she also planted something else: fear. On the Valari homeworld, Supreme, Commander Vyak was receiving reports of the impossible. Entire military installations were vanishing without explanation. Patrol fleets were being destroyed by enemies that couldn't be detected until they attacked. "How many ships have we lost?" he demanded. 47 vessels in the past 4 hours, replied his aide. "No survivors, no battle debris, no sensor traces of attacking forces." Vyak's tactical instincts, honed by decades of successful conquest, were screaming warnings. This wasn't random piracy or equipment failure. This was a coordinated military operation by someone with technology far superior to anything in the Valari arsenal. "Recall all forces to defensive positions around our core worlds," he ordered. "Something is hunting us." Dr. Yuna was coordinating the biological warfare phase from her laboratory on Terra Prime. The virus she had engineered was spreading through Valari communication networks, embedded in their own data transmissions. It targeted specific neural pathways in the Valari brain, causing intense fear reactions and paranoid delusions. Within hours, Valari military units were reporting enemy ships that weren't there, shooting at shadows, and fleeing from battles that existed only in their terrified minds. The virus didn't kill. It was much more effective than death. It turned the galaxy's most feared warriors into paranoid, frightened animals. "Psychological warfare is more effective than direct destruction," she explained to Admiral Hyun-woo. "A dead enemy can become a martyr. A terrified enemy spreads fear to everyone around them." The virus also served another purpose. It made Valari commanders increasingly irrational and aggressive, causing them to make strategic mistakes that human forces could exploit. General Seokjin coordinated the main military assault from the command center. On holographic displays, he watched human forces systematically dismantle the Valari Empire's military infrastructure. Shipyards vanished in flashes of converted matter. Weapons depots were teleported into the hearts of nearby stars. Communication arrays were rewritten into abstract art sculptures. "Phase 1 is complete," he reported. "Valari military capabilities reduced by 60%. They still don't know what's attacking them." "Begin Phase 2, Admiral Hyun-woo ordered. "Show them what they're really fighting." Across Valari space, the invisible attacks suddenly became visible. Human ships materialized around every major Valari world, their sleek forms unlike anything in the galactic databases. They hung in space like predators, beautiful and terrible. Admiral Crix stared at his tactical displays in disbelief. The human ships were everywhere, surrounding his forces with casual precision. They had appeared out of nowhere, as if they could ignore the basic laws of physics. "Analysis," he demanded. "Unknown technology, sir. Our sensors can barely detect them even when they're visible. Energy signatures are unlike anything in our databases." "How many?" "Estimated 10,000 vessels minimum, sir. Possibly significantly more." Crix felt something he had never experienced before. Genuine fear. The Valari Empire had the largest military force in the galaxy, with over 50,000 ships spread across their territory. If the humans could field 10,000 vessels using technology this advanced, the balance of power had shifted overnight. Then the broadcasts began. Director Sunho's message reached every communication device in Valari space simultaneously. It couldn't be blocked, jammed, or traced, a demonstration of humanity's complete control over galactic communication networks. "Citizens of the Valari Empire," the message began, "you have been lied to by your leaders. They told you that humans were weak and defenseless. They were wrong." The broadcast showed footage of the attacks on human colonies, but also revealed what the Valari military hadn't seen: the careful evacuation of human intelligence assets, the deliberate sacrifice of civilian populations to maintain operational security, and the cold calculation behind every decision. Your military destroyed 3 human colonies and killed 2.3 million people. This was not an act of war between equals. This was the murder of innocents by a predatory empire that feeds on the weak. Today, you learn what happens when predators encounter an apex predator. Captain Wu Jin's ship materialized directly above the Valari homeworld's capital city. It was small compared to the massive Valari battleships, but it radiated a sense of controlled power that made every sensor operator on the planet break out in cold sweat. "This is Captain Wu Jin of the Human Defense Force," he broadcast on all frequencies. "Your Supreme Commander has exactly 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. If he refuses, we will demonstrate why attacking human colonies was the last mistake the Valari Empire will ever make." In her disguise aboard Crix's flagship, Minji smiled as she watched the chaos spreading through the ship's crew. The psychological virus was working perfectly, turning disciplined soldiers into frightened, confused individuals who jumped at shadows and suspected each other of being enemy agents. But she had one more task to complete: using the ship's own communication systems. She sent a message directly to Admiral Crix's personal terminal: complete tactical plans for the destruction of the Valari Empire, along with a simple note: "We have been inside your networks for 5 years. We know everything about your military capabilities, your strategic plans, and your personal fears. Your empire ends today. The management." As the hour deadline approached, Supreme Commander Vyak faced the hardest decision in Valari history: surrender to an enemy they had thought was weak, or fight a war they couldn't win against an opponent they couldn't even understand. The hunt had begun, and the Valari were learning what it felt like to be prey. The Galactic Council chamber on Nexus Prime had never been so quiet. Representatives from 43 species sat in stunned silence as their communication systems activated without permission. Every screen, every holographic display, every personal device in the building showed the same image: A human in military uniform standing in what appeared to be the most advanced command center in the galaxy. Director Sunho looked directly into the camera, his calm expression carrying the weight of 3 centuries of hidden preparation. Behind him, holographic displays showed the true extent of human presence in the galaxy. Not 12 scattered colonies, but thousands of installations, hidden fleets, and technological capabilities that made every other species look primitive. "Citizens of the galaxy," he began, his voice broadcasting simultaneously on every communication network in known space. "For 300 years, you have known humanity as peaceful traders, helpful mediators, and harmless farmers spreading slowly across the outer rim. Today, you learn the truth. The transmission couldn't be blocked, jammed, or interrupted. Every alien government tried to cut the signal, but their own systems refused to obey commands. Human control over galactic communication networks was absolute and undeniable." Ambassador Kelthara of the Karathi leaned forward in her seat, her blue skin pale with shock. For decades, humans had worked in Karathi hospitals, helping to develop medical treatments and cure diseases. Now she was learning that those helpful doctors had been gathering biological data on her entire species. "The peaceful colonies you knew were observation posts," Sunho continued. "Every human farmer, teacher, and merchant was a trained intelligence, operative gathering information about your species, your technology, and your military capabilities." The holographic display changed to show surveillance footage from across the galaxy. Human civilians accessing alien computer systems, copying classified documents, and transmitting tactical intelligence back to hidden bases. The scope of the operation was staggering. Admiral Hyunwoo appeared on screen next, wearing a uniform that belonged to a military force the galaxy had never known existed. Behind him, tactical displays showed human ships surrounding every major alien world, vessels that had been invisible until this moment. "We have been your invisible guardians for centuries," he announced. "The hegemony wars ended because we prevented them. The Thrakari genocide was stopped because we intervened. Dozens of conflicts that would have destroyed billions of lives were quietly resolved because we made them impossible to continue. We maintained galactic peace by controlling the technology that runs your civilization. Every computer system, every communication network, every automated process contains human components that we can activate or deactivate at will." To demonstrate, human AI systems briefly took control of the Galactic Council's own security systems. The Chamber's defensive weapons moved in perfect synchronization, spelling out the word "hello" in the air before returning to their normal positions. The message was clear. Humanity could have taken control of anything, anywhere, at any time. On the Valari homeworld, Supreme Commander Viak watched the broadcast with growing horror. The tactical displays were showing him things that should have been impossible. Human ships were positioned around every Valari military installation, hidden by technology that made them undetectable until they chose to reveal themselves. "Sir, our deep space sensors are confirming the display data," reported his intelligence officer. "The human ships are real. They've been there all along." Dr. Yuna appeared on the broadcast next, standing in a laboratory filled with biological samples from every species in the galaxy. "We know the genetic structure of every alien race," she announced calmly. "We understand your physiologies better than you do. We have developed treatments for diseases you don't even know you carry. We have also developed biological weapons that can target specific genetic markers, allowing us to eliminate hostile species while leaving peaceful ones unharmed. We have never used these weapons, but they exist. The implications were terrifying. Humanity had the power to commit genocide against any species in the galaxy with surgical precision. The fact that they had chosen not to use this power was the only thing standing between alien civilizations and extinction. Captain Wu Jin's voice came over the communication system from his position above the Valari capital. The Valari Empire destroyed 3 human colonies and murdered 2.3 million people. They believed we were weak and defenseless. They were wrong. The display showed footage of the attacks on New Haven, Kepler's Rest, and Terra Nova, but also revealed what the Valari hadn't known. The colonies had been evacuated of critical personnel hours before the attack. The majority of casualties had been volunteers who stayed behind to maintain the deception. Every person who died in those colonies knew they were soldiers, not civilians. Wu Jin continued. They sacrificed their lives to maintain operational security and provide justification for what you are about to witness. Minji appeared on screen next, broadcasting from inside Admiral Crix's flagship. Her perfect mimicry of Valari appearance was dropping away as nanotechnology restructured her cellular matrix back to human normal. "I am transmitting from the bridge of the Valari command ship," she announced. "I have been aboard this vessel for the past 6 hours, invisible to their security systems and undetected by their sensors. This is to demonstrate that human operatives have been inside every major alien installation for decades. We know your military capabilities, your strategic plans, your technological limitations, and your personal fears. There are no secrets. From us because we built the systems you use to keep secrets." The camera pulled back to show the chaos on the Valari bridge. Crew members were staring at their instruments in confusion as human AI systems rewrote their computer displays to show tactical data about their own empire, information that should have been classified at the highest levels. Director Sunho returned to the center of the broadcast. "The galaxy operates on a simple principle. The strong prey on the weak. Peaceful species are conquered or exterminated. Aggressive species expand until they encounter something stronger. We chose a different path. We became strong enough to prey on predators instead of the innocent. We became the apex predator in a galaxy full of wannabe predators." The holographic display showed a timeline of human interventions over the past 3 centuries. Wars prevented, genocides stopped, aggressive. Species quietly neutralized before they could threaten peaceful ones. The pattern was clear. Humanity had been actively managing galactic civilization, steering it away from self-destruction. "Today marks the end of the age of predatory empires," Admiral Hyun-woo announced. "The Valari Empire will be completely dismantled. As an example to any other species that believes in the philosophy of conquest and extermination, we offer the galaxy a new compact. Peaceful species will be protected and assisted. Aggressive species will be monitored and controlled. Any species that attempts genocide or unprovoked conquest will be eliminated." The broadcast showed human fleets positioned around the homeworlds of 16 different aggressive species. The message was unmistakable. Humanity had the power to end any threat to galactic peace, and the will to use that power when necessary. Ambassador Theron of the AG. Nexari Banking Consortium felt his financial empire crumbling around him as he realized the implications. If humans controlled galactic communication and computer systems, they also controlled the financial networks that ran galactic commerce. They could bankrupt any species, crash any economy, or redistribute wealth however they chose. We do not. Seek to rule the galaxy? Director Sunho continued, as if reading Theron's thoughts. We seek to guard it. Peaceful species will continue to govern themselves as they choose. Trade will continue. Exploration will continue. Cultural exchange will continue. What will not continue is the cycle of strong species preying on weak ones. That age is over. The final part of the broadcast showed the current tactical situation around Valari space. Human forces had completely surrounded the Empire, cutting off all escape routes and communications. Supreme Commander Viak had minutes to decide between unconditional surrender and total annihilation. The choice belongs to each species individually, Admiral Hyunwoo concluded. Coexist peacefully with your neighbors, and humanity will remain your invisible protector. Choose the path of conquest and aggression, and you will discover why attacking human colonies was the Valari Empire's final mistake. The broadcast ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. In the space of 30 minutes, humanity had revealed themselves as the most advanced military power in known space, the secret controllers of galactic technology, and the hidden guardians, who had been maintaining peace for centuries. The age of human deception was over. The age of human guardianship had begun, and every species in the galaxy now had to decide which side of that guardianship they wanted to be on. Supreme Commander Viak stood in his command center, staring at tactical displays that showed the complete encirclement of the Valari Empire. Human ships surrounded every Valari world, their positions precise and inescapable. After a lifetime of conquest and victory, he was facing his first and final defeat. The communication channel crackled to life with Captain Wu Jin's voice. Supreme Commander, you have 5 minutes remaining to announce your unconditional surrender. After that, we begin the systematic destruction of your military infrastructure. Viak looked around at his staff officers, seeing fear in their eyes for the first time in their careers. These were warriors who had conquered dozens of worlds, but they were facing an enemy that made their greatest victories look like children's games. Sir, our computer systems are showing detailed human tactical plans for the invasion of every Valari world, reported his intelligence officer. They've been inside our networks for years. Every strategic decision we've made, every defensive plan we've developed, they know everything. Admiral Crix appeared on the screen from his flagship, his scaled features showing the strain of the past few hours. Supreme Commander, the human infiltrator is still aboard my ship. She's broadcasting our complete military codes to their forces. Our own security systems won't respond to commands to stop her. Viak closed his eyes, feeling the weight of an empire's fate on his shoulders. The Valari had built their civilization on the principle that the strong take what they want from the weak. Today, they had encountered something stronger. Open a channel to the human command, he ordered quietly. Minji appeared on his screen, still aboard Crix's flagship, but now clearly visible as human. Her presence there was a demonstration of how completely the humans had penetrated Valari security. I am authorized to accept your surrender, she said formally. The terms are non-negotiable. Complete disarmament of all Valari military forces, dissolution of the imperial government, and cooperation with the repatriation of conquered species to their original worlds. And if we refuse, then your empire ends today, and your species becomes extinct within the week. We have biological weapons targeted at Valari genetic markers. One virus release and your entire population dies within hours. The threat was delivered, without emotion, like a weather report. That made it more terrifying than any dramatic declaration of war. Viak knew he had no choice. The Valari Empire surrenders unconditionally. The words echoed across the galaxy as human communication networks broadcast the moment to every species in known space. The Valari Empire, which had conquered 47 worlds and enslaved billions of beings, had been brought to its knees in less than 12 hours. 6 months later, Admiral Hyunwoo stood in the rebuilt Galactic Council chambers, watching as representatives from dozens of formerly enslaved worlds took their seats for the first time. The Valari Empire had been dismantled completely, its member worlds freed, and its military leadership exiled to a prison colony on the edge of known space. The galaxy had been reorganized under what historians would later call the Terra Accords. Humanity remained officially in the background, but everyone understood the new reality. Peaceful coexistence was no longer optional. Governor Yunbi, who had survived the attack on New Haven, now served as humanity's official representative to the Galactic Council. But everyone knew that the real decisions were made by Admiral Hyunwoo and his staff on Terra Prime. The Nexari Banking Consortium is reporting record stability in galactic financial markets, she announced to the Council. With human oversight of communication networks, fraudulent transactions have dropped to zero. Dr. Yuna had established research partnerships with universities across the galaxy, sharing carefully selected human medical technology. Diseases that had plagued alien species for centuries were being cured with treatments developed from 300 years of secret human research. But the research partnerships served another purpose. They allowed human scientists to monitor alien technological development, ensuring that no species could develop weapons capable of threatening galactic peace. Director Sunho's intelligence networks had become openly acknowledged as the galaxy's primary security service. The old system of competing intelligence agencies and secret military buildups had been replaced by transparent cooperation under human oversight. We've identified and neutralized 3 separate terrorist organizations planning attacks on civilian populations, he reported to the Council. The Karathi medical crisis has been resolved with the development of new treatment protocols. The Nexari trade dispute with the Altani has been mediated successfully. Captain Wu Jin, now promoted to Admiral, commanded the new Colonial Defense Force. Officially, it existed to protect human interests and former human colonies. Unofficially, everyone knew it was humanity's visible military presence, ready to respond to any threat to galactic peace. The rebuilt colonies were no longer intelligence outposts disguised as farming communities. They were genuine settlements, where humans lived normal lives, raising families and building communities. But they were also symbols of what happened to those who threatened the innocent. Minji returned to the rebuilt New Haven colony, where she tended hydroponic gardens like her father had done. But now the galaxy knew that behind every human farmer, scientist, and merchant stood the most advanced military force in galactic history. She often visited her father's memorial, a simple monument in the town square listing the names of those who had died in the Valari attack. The inscription read, "They died as heroes to preserve the peace." The truth was more complex. They had died as soldiers in a war the galaxy didn't know was being fought, sacrificing their lives to maintain humanity's cover until the moment when that cover was no longer needed. The new galactic order was stable but uneasy. Peaceful species were grateful for human protection and the end of predatory empires. Aggressive species found themselves closely monitored, their military capabilities limited by human oversight of their technology. The Thrakari, rescued from near extinction by human intervention decades earlier, had become humanity's closest allies. Ambassador Yalara addressed the Council regularly about the benefits of the new system. Before human guardianship, my people lived in constant fear of attack, she testified. Our entire civilization was devoted to hiding from predators. Now we can focus on art, science, and exploration. This is what galactic civilization should be. But not everyone was happy with the new arrangement. A resistance movement led by former Velari officers called themselves the Liberation Front, seeking to restore the old system where the strong ruled the weak. Their efforts were doomed from the start. Human AI systems monitored every communication in the galaxy, identifying potential threats before they could act. The Liberation Front's secret meetings were infiltrated, their weapon caches were neutralized, and their leaders found themselves mysteriously relocated to distant worlds where they could cause no trouble. Admiral Hyun-woo addressed the Galactic Council on the first anniversary of the Velari surrender, his speech broadcast to every world in known space. 1 year ago, the galaxy changed forever. The age of predatory empires ended, and the age of protected peace began. Some species have embraced this change, others resist it. But the change is permanent. We did not seek to become the galaxy's guardians. We were forced into this role by the failure of galactic civilization to protect its own innocent members. We will continue in this role as long as necessary. To peaceful species, we offer our protection and partnership. To aggressive species, we offer a choice: evolve beyond your predatory instincts or face the consequences of your actions. The holographic display behind him showed statistics that told the story of the new galaxy. Civilian casualties from military conflicts, down 97%. Genocidal attacks, 0. Economic warfare, eliminated. Pirates and raiders, extinct. The galaxy was safer, more prosperous, and more stable than it had been in recorded history. The price was the knowledge that humanity was watching, always watching, ready to intervene when the strong tried to prey on the weak. In the years that followed, a new generation of aliens would grow up in a galaxy where war between species was almost unknown, where weak civilizations could develop without fear of conquest, and where the greatest threats to peace were natural disasters and accidents rather than military aggression. They would take this peace for granted, never knowing how close their species had come to extinction in the bad old days. They would see humans as helpful neighbors and trading partners, never quite realizing that those same neighbors were the galaxy's apex predators. And that was exactly how humanity wanted it. The mask of peaceful weakness was gone forever, but the role of invisible guardian continued. The galaxy was safe, protected by predators who hunted other predators and left the innocent alone. The new galactic order had begun, and it would last for 1,000 years. But in the depths of space, human ships continued their eternal patrol, watching for the next threat to galactic peace. Because Admiral Hyun-woo had been right about one thing. The galaxy was full of wannabe predators, and it always would be. The difference was that now there was an apex predator watching over,